Welcome to this week's Hymn of the Week. This week we have ELW 588, There's a Wideness in God's Mercy. Frederick W. Faber, as we see here, wrote the text, or Faber, I'm guessing it's Faber, and he released or published this text in a book called Hymns in 1862, and it was with the heading Come to Jesus, which I find that interesting because the theme of grace and faith, as you see here in the ELW, and also mercy. And it was in a section of sacraments, faith, and the spiritual life. And there was 13 stanzas of the hymn, which are probably too many stanzas to sing. And even still with 4 lines per stanza. So what Evangelical Lutheran Worship has done is it's taken the first verse, which is stanzas 4 and 5 of those 13. Verse 2 is stanzas 6 and 7 of the 13. It has a slight change in the second line. And then verse 3, as we see here, is stanzas 8 and 9. And it also includes, it's a bit more inclusive, as we see later, for the love of God is broader than the measures of our mind, but we make this love too narrow by false limits of our own. So we'll see that that's a change from the Lutheran Book of Worship. And then the verse 4 includes stanzas 11 and 13 from the original. Of course, Frederick Faber was born in Yorkshire, England, and was raised in an Anglican family. The tune, Lord Revive Us, is an anonymous 19th century American tune. And what's interesting here is it feels like it's pentatonic, like it's a 5-note scale, but it actually is not. It has more pitches than that. And it doesn't include, it has most of the pattern here, but not all of it. So it gives that feel initially. So when you listen to it, don't be deceived. And the form is a very generic form, which you could use, or I could use for hymn writing, A, A, B, C. And how this is interesting is that C form takes a version, or is a variety of A and B. So what we have here is we see the first line repeats, right? And then the second line, or the next B, which is the third line, totally different, right? And then C starts like B, right? And then it includes a bit of A. So if you want to write a hymn tune, that would be the way to do it. Come up with 2 ideas, repeat the idea twice, the first idea, then put your second idea in, and your third idea becomes half and half of the first 2. It's, in my opinion, genius hymn writing. Hence, that's probably why we understand it to be anonymous, because we don't really know who did it. It would be nice to know. We could learn a lot from that. Of course, we have some information about what book it was in, but it's not really, it's not for sure. So, hence why we have the words, Lord, revive us, because it was connected with the tune that had that theme. But that's why we have the tune name, even though it's an anonymous composer. So here we go. There's a wideness in God's mercy. fact, I threw in a direct modulation at the end there in the last verse, and that was to go with the text, make our love, O God, more faithful. To really, and that's a great way sometimes in a hymn to go right with the text and reinforce what the text is saying, just by taking it up a step with no preparation. And occasionally we do that on the organ, of course, and on the piano as well. Thank you very much for listening to Hymn of the Week.